Welcome to the Real Super Geeks Picard Prediction Smackdown, in which we predict what we think is going to happen next on Star Trek Picard, now that we have just 2 episodes left of its first season, and take a look back at our previous predictions to see how well our prognostication was able to survive what actually happened. So let's work backwards from the predictions we started last week. And so the last one that I have on the list is one of yours, Kate, who broke with her own self-imposed rule about not making predictions about shows that she really likes. She made this prediction that if I understood this correctly, Kate, there aren't a lot of secret synths running around, but La Serena may well be sentient herself, which I put status as intriguing. And the Smackdown was cool, but how likely? So given what we saw in this episode, do we change that status?
I think it's safe to say that this is kind of unlikely now. Probably, I'd say it's unlikely mainly because if the ship were sentient, well, now I don't know, because if she took it, if Rio said that it took her about 5 minutes to hack, so maybe if the ship is sentient, she had an easier time communicating with it. I'd say there's not enough evidence, but it could go either way.
Anyone else?
I'd like to hear from Kate.
Oh, I'm still squarely on the fence about it. I really can't decide. I think if you think about it in terms of the 5 holograms are all being controlled by a central computer, then you've got a little more evidence for it. If you think about each of them as being entirely distinct, you've got less. So I'm still just right in the middle.
Yeah, I actually am probably in the same place as you, Kate, because I think they keep hinting at these different versions of Rio sort of being more than just a hologram. So I don't know. It may just end up being a device that just works well, both dramatically and comically in the series. But it would I would keep it at intriguing. It is intriguing, although. It turns out, though, you were wrong about one half of your theory, which was there apparently are a lot of secret synths running around.
I think it depends. I mean, if you mean like secret synths in terms of like Girardi being a synth or Rothby being a synth.
No.
But
yeah,
if you mean like the planet of synths, yeah. It's kind of. Yeah. So.
Smackdown.
Okay, so that's a half a smack.
Half a smack. How do I? This thing doesn't do halves, Carlos.
Well, then just give her a light tap. Give her a light tap.
Just a little love tap.
There is a video game mechanic called a half button press, and when you hold the button as you're loading a level to a game, so that when you release it, the button is already half pressed.
The hammer's on or off. There's not really.
It's binary. It's a binary hammer. Okay, let's go back then to the next prediction, which was from Justin, and that was that Hugh is not dead. We listed its status as unlikely. How do we weigh on it this week?
We've not seen a burial or a body after the incident itself, so
it really hasn't been time for one.
Yeah,
Romney's kind of got all murder happy immediately after that.
I know what Jonathan Del Arco said on the Ready Room. He said that when they pitched the idea of him coming back as Hugh, that was part of the pitch, so it was always the plan.
Yeah.
So he's certainly behaving publicly as if he's dead.
He did.
I mean, it could be a lie, but
he's alive in our hearts.
I don't see it happening.
Give him the Smackdown.
I'm gonna not quite give it a Smackdown. I'm gonna call it far less likely than before.
I still got 2 episodes surprises.
Maybe Smackdown next week. Okay, so that's where we leave you, Justin. You're not quite Smackdown, but we're looking forward to it soon. Okay. So, Sun, your prediction was that the EMH would be reactivated and the truth would come out regarding Girardi's murder of Maddox, and you are correct.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Give her the
Is there like an anti-hammer we can give her?
Anybody got a bell?
Do I have a
Oh
bell
my
right
god, I
there?
should totally get a bell.
Yeah, do it for the next Smackdown. Bring a bell, Travis.
I have a bell.
To be fair on my chair.
I have a bell, but people are sleeping, so I can't ring it.
Ah.
And it's a really big handbell.
Oh.
Oh my.
Here's
Okay, so congratulations to you, son, on getting that correct. Next is
Here you go.
Travis's prediction that we have not seen. Thank you. We have not seen the last of Will Riker. We recorded the status as very possible. I personally think that's still the case because we still have 2 big episodes to go. You all agree with that so far?
Yeah.
Just because of the whole Admiral Clancy scene and the fact that he's getting a task force together. I mean, if something were to go wrong with Picard disappeared and show up at task force, that would be
Yeah,
surprise or come back.
Yeah, I mean, we do know now that there is a squadron in play, so that may end up being the plant that we see, maybe be the cavalry at the end. I don't know. But
Yeah, remember you said we weren't going to see Starfleet ships in this.
well, we don't know that yet, because they aren't going to Deep Space 12. So
No, true, but they still.
So it's not. We don't have enough evidence to go one way or the other on it. Although I did agree that the Will Riker part is likely. I agreed with that last week.
What are the chances of us seeing Thomas Riker?
Unlikely.
How about no?
I think they politely killed that one off.
Who do you, that would be the most hilarious thing, because you have 7 of 9 as that, like, the head of the Fenris Rangers, and her right hand man is literally Thomas Riker.
It would make sense. He signed on with the Maquis after all.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but
Dead.
He's likely dead then.
So.
Well, no, he was.
Okay, so this is not the Will Riker prediction show, so we're going to move on. Okay, so we're still at very possible on Travis's Will Riker prediction. The next one is one Justin and I had, which was that 7 is the destroyer, not Soji. I mean, it's more likely because we've seen her become a queen, but I'm not sure it still outweighs.
I'm going to say
likelihood.
that I would say that I'm on the fence with this one.
I mean, I would also say I'm on the fence with it now, but because she unplugged from the cube. But it does. I mean, we still have 2 more episodes. We don't know if she's going to reinsert herself again, and we don't exactly know what's coming.
I'm betting she will because
I
she
think
said the cube is ours again. So they need to do something with the cube. Something's going to happen with the cube.
I think it's likely, but it's that likeliness folds into my prediction. So
I think Soji is still the destroyer because she is on the way to ring the bell to wake the demons of the nest.
Someone say Bell?
She is on her way to her homeworld, and we don't know what we're going to find there. But they are bringing a warning that the Romulans are on their way too. So if they have defenses, and it seems they do, there's going to be a fight.
Well, we already know whatever happens, it doesn't end well for Las Vegas, according to the trailer that we see after
Yes,
the
but trailers
episode.
can be misleading.
Yeah, trailers are often misleading, so I wouldn't leap to any conclusions.
I'm con.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess jury's still out on this one. So let's move to the next one, which was from Justin, who predicted that 7 will take over the artifact and will die. And I said yes on rebellion, no on the death. So far, I'm right. You're wrong, Justin.
He's half right.
I'm half right. I get half a point there.
Okay, you can have your half a point.
I get a half a point. Yeah, that's 2.5 points.
Yeah, there's no half Smackdown.
Well,
That's
this
right.
thing, I guess I could do
We're
that.
trying to
That's
take
more of a
a point
knighting
away
kind
from me.
of.
Okay. Next is Ross's, that the synths in the nest are self-propagating. And I didn't record a status on that, but I think I'd be willing to record one now, which would be likely. How else do the rest of you weigh in on that one?
what is that?
There you go. There's Ross's bell.
Yeah.
So how else do the rest of you weigh in on Ross's prediction?
I'm not against it at all.
And I think we're going to see ample evidence of that over the next
Yeah.
couple episodes.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it should be upgraded to likely.
They were probably created as with base models, but given the ability to reproduce on their own.
Well, let's be perfectly honest here. Calling it fan wank would technically be an upgrade because you gave it nothing.
Yes, you're right. I guess you're right about that.
Oh, no.
Starfleet was founded
Okay, so let's move to the next one, which is Suns. Where'd you go there? Oh, there. The rogue synth ships from Mars left to establish the nest of synths the Romulans are seeking. I think we can pretty much consider that one smacked down, given what we learned in this episode. Sorry, son.
Wow.
on. Kaboom!
Okay, let's put that there. Okay, and next is from Ross. Something in the galaxy is corrupting synthetics into destroying organic life. I recorded the status as skeptical last week. Ross, you seem to think you were proven right this week, but I'm not sure you are.
I think I'm partially correct, but in a different context. In this episode, they were talking about a threshold similar to breaking the warp barrier, where a higher intelligence
but that's not a
makes
conscious
contact. However, this contact resulted in the destruction of whoever created the admonition. That's what I took from this.
Maybe. I got the sense that it wasn't the contact that destroyed the race that created the admonition. It was the synths.
So I'm going to put this down a second to try and elaborate, because I've actually given this a lot of thought since the episode.
Proceed.
And this will spin off into a separate theory, but it is all connected. So a couple of names I've seen thrown around since this episode aired are the Takan and the Iconians. Now, before you get into stow stuff and call it fanwake, hear me out. These two races have a direct connection to Picard from TNG. He has studied the Takan as a student of archaeology, and we saw an example of a Takan ship in, I can't remember the name of the episode, but Picard actually saved the Enterprise by pulling them out of that snare. Was it the snare? The trap that they were in, by powering down the Enterprise and coasting out on inertia. And the destruction of that empire kind of fits within the 200,000 year time frame. So
Well, how were they spelled?
T''Kon.
On Memory Alpha, there's no apostrophe. It's just TKON Empire.
Okay. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use Takan and Iconians as ubiquitous terms. The Takan advanced; they're able to actually move stars to create this octenary star system. They got to the point where they created synthetic life, and because they reached that threshold, that milestone, they were contacted by what was left of the Iconians. Now that they have their own empire has crumbled and what's left of them have ascended further. They say, look what you have created. You are now eligible to join a wider community on a plane you've never seen before, similar to First Contact. But they're unwilling to give up this synthetic labor force or lower caste or lower class that they've created. And so the synthetics are elevated by the Iconians, and the Takan are essentially destroyed or greatly reduced to the point where they created this octenary system as a warning: don't do what we did. The Romulans, however, misinterpreted this warning not so as an admonition of creating synthetic life, when in reality it's more a sense of you're creating synthetic life for the wrong reasons. That's a tinfoil hat off.
According to, by the way, I don't think that is an implausible theory. It has a certain symmetry to it. As they say, background on the episode in which the Takan were introduced. The writers actually made a mistake calling them the Takan. They actually meant them to be the Iconians, causing the art department to design and produce sets based on graphics seen in The Last Outpost. The error was discovered not long before shooting took place and corrected.
That was for the, excuse me, that was for the Deep Space Nine episode.
Yes.
Where they have to blow up the Iconian Gateway. Where Cisco and the Jem'Hadar team
Right,
up.
to the death is the Deep Space Nine episode.
Yeah.
The Last Outpost was
The Last
TNG
Outpost is
episode.
where we meet the Ferengi for the first time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Takan Empire was destroyed by a supernova.
Another bit of possible symmetry.
Maybe. I am intrigued, officially, Ross, by your theory about them. It's the first bit of evidence around the Tychonians that has been persuasive to me in all of our past discussions. Of
I like it. I actually like it because, I mean,
yeah, I mean, the moving stars and that's a pretty specific ability.
Another race I would like to throw in contenders would be the Progenitor race, because they were the ones that seeded all of the galaxy with life, and they would have
but
the
they're
power
not
to
going to
move
do
stars
two
quickly.
big ancient powers in one series.
But
It's
we
gonna be
haven't
one or the
noticed.
other.
We haven't noticed them actually say the con any of them yet. So it's still up in the air which one it is.
They could do something completely new and original.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I feel like that, like Carlos said, there'd be an interesting symmetry in using something that's been referenced.
Yeah. So
Plus, I mean, they are, that whole reference that Rios makes to Picard around First Contact and the threshold is, I mean, that's a big deal. And so it makes me wonder, when else there's been some kind of intervention with a different race that was on the verge of synthetic life, because this would have undoubtedly happened before with some civilization, right?
There are plenty
Maybe
of
even say ancient Romulans. I'm just saying.
there are plenty of examples of fallen empires and superior intelligences in Star Trek to make this all the more plausible.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think your theory is about to be officially debunked.
I think it is big.
I'll be completely honest. This whole thing feels very Mass Effect to me.
I was thinking about Star Galactica because it's almost so Cylon.
Well, that's where I think this is going to diverge. They're kind of playing on some of those old tropes because they're so common. But like Picard said in this episode, Starfleet isn't at its core, at its principle, about fear and distrust. And every example we've seen in the past where Starfleet encounters new life, be it organic, synthetic, or otherwise, it is met with apprehension, but openness.
See, and that's where I both agree and disagree, because we only saw one group of people, but those group of people interacting with the synthetic life forms on Mars were pretty nasty people.
I wouldn't say they were nasty.
They were nasty to the sense.
Well, they didn't think that they were alive, so...
Well, they weren't. Those synths
You know, it's like how I treat Alexa sometimes, sorry.
Those synths weren't alive, though. They were built as a synthetic labor force. They were just manufacturing equipment. Did they have the capability to eventually become sentient? Sure. But otherwise, they turned them on at the beginning of the day. They did their work. They were teased every now and again because they were semi-human. And at the end of the day, they were turned off. They didn't show any signs of self-actualization or any kind of higher cognitive function. When they rebelled, they were programmed to do so.
Well,
these things weren't data. Their hardware might have been more advanced, but their software was even more limited than before.
Yeah, but
and now we know it was software that was manipulated by O and or the Jadvaj.
But this is also what makes the end of Author and Author so intriguing from Voyager. It's because you have another synthetic labor force in the EMH Mark 1s who do have the capacity for sentience. In fact, at the end of that, they're all discussing within themselves, hey, go read this book. Go read this holo novel that was created by one of us.
Well, and that's the distinction. Voyager's doctor had the opportunity to change and evolve over time. Other than that, he was as much an appliance as the synths on Mars were. It was only after constant operation and the respect of the crew that he had the opportunities to become a more developed person.
Yeah, I think sentience is like critical mass. You know, you have to. All the materials can be around, but until they're all gathered together in the right configuration, you don't reach critical mass.
I'm not specifically talking about the doctor being sentient or not. I'm talking about the other EMHs having the capacity to share that.
Okay, so but bringing back around to this show, what's the parallel you're trying to draw?
That it's when you're talking about openness in accepting synthetic life, these synths at this point, even though they are not sentient, that goes back to the whole measure of a man argument, because you've created a race to be a labor force. Even though they may not be sentient and they may be appliances. You have created a race of people.
Well, you're using the term race in a way that I don't think necessarily applies.
It's the implication that Picard was making in Measure of a Man, though.
Yes, but that was the implication about a sentient being.
It's the parallels that we're drawing to that. The EMH Mark 1s and the synths of Mars. There is a parallel there, and that's what I think she's getting at.
Well, except one group was sentient and the other was not.
One group had a higher capability of becoming sentient.
Right. But one was and one was not. Right? Didn't the doctors or the EMHs gain sentience?
Not that we know of.
I don't remember that episode well. I mean, I remember the episode. I don't remember
how it ended
ended
with an implication that an idea was spreading among them, but it didn't solve anything definitively.
Okay.
At least for those synths. For the doctor, he was granted the right to over his intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
But there, like Measure of a Man, there was nothing resolved in the greater Federation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. So let's see where that leads us.
You can call that revised.
Right. Where was that one? Was that the self-propagating one?
No,
the malevolence.
Malevolent force, yeah.
I'm going to say revised, becoming more likely. Let's say more possible. Plausible. Okay. All right. Good enough. I'm going to add to con/iconians in there as well. And let's see. The next one is mine, where I went out on the limb about Girardi, saying the real one died, and our Girardi that we've seen on both the show is a synth. That was reported as unlikely. I'm happy to be just wrong on that one.
Bam.
Because, it doesn't make much sense. Okay.
I'm getting a little too Cylon there.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it would be funny. Okay. So,
we still never found out what Girardi's contribution was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still don't know that.
We don't know.
That's going to be a big reveal.
I think it is too, because I'm really thinking she might be a synthetic, but
you still think she's a synth, huh? Okay,
I
think
that
she's
was
the mama.
next.
Yeah, she's the mama synth. Yeah.
No, she's not the mama synth. She contributed the organic material in order to form around the positronic matrix.
Oh yeah.
Or her original body.
Well, I don't think
material
enough genetic material, because the body is clearly superior to that of a regular human.
She's fully organic. Otherwise, they would have figured it out when she put herself into a damn coma.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as possible, Justin, your theory. Next one is Sun's conspiracy theory that Rafi is the synth.
Smackdown.
I have that listed as utter speculation, but I'm pretty sure we can smack that down, unless you have an objection, Sun.
Look, it was just a theory. You guys can smack it down. I don't have anything to say one way or the other.
Okay, we'll leave it as a smackdown, and if we're wrong, then we will throw ourselves at your feet in a frenzy of self-abasement.
I expect $1, like what George got.
Yes, and I sent that to him promptly. Okay, so that brings us to mine, which is that there's a Borg uprising on the artifact. Soji is the destroyer because she leads the XPs to break their shackles. And yeah, so Travis, you thought it was very likely. I recorded the status as plausible, but where do we think that theory stands after this episode?
Well, the Borg uprising happened.
Borg uprising definitely happened, and Seven says there's more to be done, so I still think it's likely.
Yeah,
although Soji's out of the picture because she's on her way to her home planet.
Yeah, so she's not really the one leading the XBs. It looks to be more like Seven.
And revise it as needed.
Okay.
I like that.
And, don't forget about Elnor. He's there too.
Yeah.
That's right. We need him back. He's
Are
just
you
so
going to
adorable.
assimilate
I'm
me?
sorry.
He's going to be Seven's voice of reason.
Yeah, I bet he'll be. I think you're right. Is that an official prediction, Ross?
Oh, we've already seen it.
Why not?
No, we've already seen it though. We've already seen it.
No, he was timidly asking if he was going to live or not.
Yeah, we'll see it when she refuses to give up the cube and to unassimilate or release the whatever Borg she has underneath.
Well, she's already disconnected.
Yeah, but she'll be back. Remember she left. She was still talking like a Borg.
Yeah. She
talked like a Borg.
And referred to herself as a third person.
Annika still has work to do, and then she disconnected.
I think she's still in the collective. I think
otherwise she'd still be directly picked up.
Justin, can you look that up while we?
That's what happened. She said Annika still has work to do,
yeah.
And then the cable snapped off of her spine,
and her eyes returned to normal.
Okay, well, that doesn't change the theory, though, which is she will reconnect and refuse to let go, and Elnor will be her voice of reason.
I remember there's always a residual connection to a Borg cube, because both Seven and Picard always had that little connection where they would hear them every
To
now
the
and
collective,
then. Yeah.
not the cube.
But considering she started a new collective, she would still have this connection.
I think she disconnected everybody when she did.
Yeah, but I mean, not to say there will be some type of side effect. Okay, this isn't what we're talking about here. They're not going to make it that easy.
If she disconnected, I think she disconnected everyone with her.
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion, and they didn't show it.
I can't say anything because that's part of my prediction for this week. So.
Okay, so I'm going to put that down as your prediction, Ross, and I'm going to put the status as plausible, unless you have an objection.
No objective.
Okay, and I think we've gotten far enough in ones that we need to check in on. So unless some Federation starship decloaks, then
well, Sun and Justin have an Iconian one.
Sun is the one who has the Iconian prediction. So if we get more data in that, we will definitely revisit it as well.
I still I fear ancient Romulans creating a Borg theory is highly more unlikely. I have no idea if I phrased that right, but I believe it's getting more unlikely.
I got a new theory. I think the Borg created the
Okay,
Borg.
whoa, folks! Why don't we just go ahead and start officially, so I can write them down. Okay, so what are we doing next?
Wait,
the Borg created the Borg.
Wait a minute. There's one that I'm looking at here that says true, and I'm like, what? How? Sean said there would be a special bond between Soji and Raffi. Did we see that? Because I don't remember seeing that.
Where? Hold on.
It's just above Hugh is going to die because Justin cheated.
On mine, it is not. Oh, I didn't list it as. You know what? I probably put it in the wrong because I didn't. I put all the true ones. I put in green, so I think that was just. I got it mixed up with Justin's.
Okay.
-2 points to Carlos.
Well, that's just being a bad secretary.
And there is one more to revisit as well.
Which one? The Iconian one?
No, the artifact.
I changed that from fanwank to plausible.
About the artifact.
Which one?
The artifact was disabled by the scout ship. That was.
Oh yeah, so that's basically true. Where is that one?
First page, about 2/3 of the way down, or halfway down.
It's 3 up from Sean's Raffi seeks vindication via Maddox on free.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, so yes, that was you and Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that pretty much was proven true this week, yes?
Although it seemed more, the way Narissa described it, it seemed more circumstantial. The fact that Ramda was on board that specific scout ship that was disabled.
Remember what she said. She said it was a Tal Shiar scout ship.
Yes, the Tal Shiar scout ship. That her despair and the sheer will of her despair at what she knows created a bad seed that the collective had to amputate.
And then she gloats, I would have made a perfect Borg queen.
No,
drone. She said
just
drone.
Borg, yeah, drone.
Resistance. Futile.
That's Narissa, quite the narcissist.
Okay, so I'm putting that one in green now.
Didn't you have one to Smackdown, Travis?
He's coming up on it.
I was just saying, I believe that Carlos's prediction of ancient Romulans creating the Borg, it's just getting more and more unlikely with each episode, especially with this opening scene that we've just now seen in this episode, where they very much...
See, I don't see it that way at all. Go ahead and explain your...
Let me explain before I lose my train of thought.
All right, go for it.
The scene reveals the origins of the Zhat Vash, which basically says that they came upon this place, and God damn it, they came upon the place and had their vision and realized the implications of what synthetic life would have, and that this race was thousands of millennia or thousands of centuries old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe the exact number was around 200,000 years.
I think so, yeah.
And they say when the Romulans discovered this monument or this warning, whatever you want to call it, that's when the Zhat Vash are born, which tells me that the Romulans at this point in time either just, whether this was, I don't know, they didn't say when they discovered this warning per se.
They kind of hinted at it, though, which is why the timelines around the discovery, I think, are still very unclear and contradictory.
But I would think that the formation of the Zhat Vash is what directly feeds into the Romulan disdain of synthetic life, rather than the creation of the Borg itself.
Well, okay, so, sorry, are you done?
Go ahead.
Okay, so so for me, the timelines here are still very confusing, because here O says in that meeting of the conclave, says that the Zhat Vash were born, and then for the last few hundreds of years, they have been carrying out this, directive to not allow to destroy all synthetic life wherever they encounter it. Except that, remember, Laris said that the Zhat Vash had been around for tens of thousands of years, not hundreds.
I don't remember that.
She did. She said they were pretty ancient back in, I don't know, second episode.
Maybe thousands, but I mean, hundreds of years could easily be in the thousands. Tens of thousands, I think, might be pushing it a bit. I'd have to look back on that. Though.
Yeah, that's pushing it into the pre-sundering. Hundreds of years.
I don't remember when that sundering was supposed to have occurred, but I don't think that's canon either when that happened.
It seems to check for me, at least as far as the Romulans go. In their exodus, they definitely would have seen an octenary system as a point of interest.
I think it's, even with the confusing timelines given, we're still pretty well led to believe that the Zhat Vash were formed as part of the basis of the Romulan society itself. Therefore, in that, would the Romulans be really that willing to hand them over to themselves to cybernetic, to synthetic AI?
Well, here's the other thing that I think is interesting is, like, the Romulans coming across the octenary system, which and the admonition, which they refer to specifically as a warning, that when you reach the threshold, you get this warning. This would have been the warning that the Romulans would have gotten in whatever the ancient time period ends up being once we, take a look at the numbers again. But and so they responded by destroying all synthetic, committing themselves as a society to destroy all synthetic life.
the warning was the system itself. An octenary system, as they stated in the episode, is impossible to happen naturally.
Right.
The system,
Yeah.
they built
That's
it
not an
intentionally.
issue. That's not an issue.
Okay. But, the warning was left behind, and the Romulans discovered it.
Okay, so how do you think that jibes, Ross, with the whole idea as Rios and Picard were talking about it, about the threshold?
That they reached that threshold, they were tested, and they failed.
Who?
In the case of my theory, the Takan.
The ancient society that had built the synthetic life.
This was left behind by an ancient civilization, and the Romulans found it and interpreted it as a warning.
I agree with you about that. But it's not like you just stumble along, you get a warning, and it's like, oh, synthetic life. I mean, for the Romulans to commit themselves to this means they had to have understood the implications of synthetic life, or at least had synthetic life, which I think still fits with my theory that they created the board. The board started out as synthetic.
I would just look at the reaction of the people who observed the admonition. All but 2 of them committed suicide. 1 quickly, 2 rather brutally and painfully. Yeah. Imagine the impact that would happen on others. Others would want to see why they had such a reaction, and more people would observe it to the same results. That would have a massive impact on the leadership of these people as they're moving through the galaxy.
We don't know these people being the Romulans.
Yes.
Okay. We don't know any of the circumstances around how this planet was discovered, how many Romulans knew of its existence, or anything like that.
Yes.
So I don't think you can leap to any conclusions around that. It's interesting to me that it was specifically female, and we haven't seen the Romulan culture portrayed as particularly matrilineal or matriarchal, unless that's something they were originally, and then they moved away from that at some point.
Now, here's the thing. We see women specifically in this instance.
Sure.
But it
appears to have been always women, because she said 4 mothers.
Well, yes, but that doesn't preclude that there are men in the Zhat Vash.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying with the ones that do the admonition. There are clearly a small number chosen, only 8 at a time, and we don't know what the interval is between each time they do the admonition.
I'd say that there's a case to say that the Romulans are at least unconsciously matriarchal. We do see
maybe. I mean, I would actually love for that to be the case. We haven't seen much. And how many of you have read? Is it Diane Duane's?
Yes.
Have you read it enough? Yeah, the Rihansu novels. Do they address that in there? I've only read one of them.
No, but whenever we hear of a singular Romulan ruler, it's always an empress.
Really?
At least
that's right, because
in
they
Beta
had
canon. AL,
the Praetor,
spoilers,
but the Praetors have been male.
Have been both. In Rihansu, AL, spoilers, becomes empress. In Beta canon, in Path 2409, I can't remember who was it. One person claims the title of empress before Sela does, and she is the empress through Star Trek Online.
Wasn't it Taurus? Taurus and Sela were fighting for control.
But I think Taurus called herself the proconsul.
Mm-hmm.
There was a proconsul and a praetor, and we've seen a bit of both. Also, some of the most significant leaders within the Romulans that we see are female. The commander during the Enterprise incidents, Terrace herself, Danatra, all very the Deanna Troi is tapped to be a Tal Shiar agent. I wouldn't say that they're strictly matriarchal. We see plenty of evidence of male
leaders. We see plenty of men, plenty of them.
There's plenty.
I think that you guys are looking at this in a way that, again, like we all kind of skipped over the fact that that O was both Vulcan and Romulan.
Yes.
it is entirely possible that what we are seeing is one half of the ceremony. We could be dealing with a ceremony that is divided binary. You have the 4 fathers and 4 mothers in 2 separate ceremonies.
Well, do you know they have more than one husband and
Kind of
wife?
like you had the Boy
maybe,
Scouts and the
but
Girls.
there's no evidence of that.
In the
But
book.
yeah,
And it's
I mean,
It's-
I wouldn't leap to that conclusion.
It'll be interesting to see if they elaborate on it further.
Yeah, I mean, I in some way I think they will, but it will be interesting to see that. Okay, so we're adding new
Something
predictions. Who has
just
another
came
one?
to mind. If you guys want to hear it. That task
for it.
force that was supposed to meet them at Deep Space 12, it's going to meet them at the Sins planet, and it's going to be led by Commodore O.
I believe that you are, like, I would say, like, I was anticipating that the task force would meet them at the world, and I will laugh if they decloak.
What if the task force shows up that Commodore Clancy sends, and then Commodore O sends her own Section 31 task force, and they meet head on?
She's not Section 31.
She's
How
Starfleet
do we-
security, not Section
Yeah.
31.
She is the very public face of Starfleet security.
I mean, well, what if she sends her own fleet?
And
She's not even Starfleet intelligence. She is Starfleet security.
I wouldn't be against her leading the task force.
I think it's actually pretty possible. It'd be an interesting. It's not quite a twist, but it would be. If she showed up that way, it'd be like, oh yeah, of course, right?
Think back to
Well,
episode 2. She said, "If the need arises, I will deal with Picard." So he's certainly been interfering, and I think it's time for her.
And we've definitely seen Clancy talking to O and trusting O.
Yeah.
So I think it's. I'm gonna put it as possible. Does that sound okay?
I've got a prediction.
All right, you are next, sir.
I think
Go for it.
Narek's gonna do a heel face turn.
He's gonna betray the Romulans
Yeah.
out
Well,
of
we did-
love for Sophie, or Soji, or are you gonna go that far?
I won't go that far. Maybe he is truly in love with Soji, but my guess is that I don't know, but I have a feeling that he's going to help the heroes.
Okay.
Well, there is that shot that we've not seen in the show yet, and it may just have been a promo shot with no actual scene to it, where we saw Narek on the bridge of the La Sirena with the rest of the crew.
Right.
Did we?
It was in a trailer.
If he
An
shows up on
early
the
trailer.
La Sirena, Soji is going to disembowel him.
Well, no, she probably has some kind of ethical subroutine as well.
Yeah, but this is the guy that literally ruined her life and tried to
It
kill
doesn't
her.
mean she would disembowel him. I mean, if someone ruined my life, I wouldn't disembowel them. And I think
Look at what Dodge did to all the operatives that came after her.
because they were directly attacking her.
Yeah,
And
but
him
Sophie's
showing up is not
already-
an attack.
No,
Soji
but
is
it is a
already-
reminder of what he put her
Yeah,
through.
she was just that self-defense is very different from.
Soji
Around.
already automatically tried to take over the ship. It was just a memory of it.
She's
She
going
didn't
to
even know
hurt
she
him.
had. So, I mean, she may unconsciously try to tear him apart. But then again, we do have that scene where she tried, slammed in Picard and the Tente. And that scene with Riker.
Yeah, she showed
Yeah, it was a
restraint then.
shove. It was
She
a shove.
didn't show restraint on the table.
No, she did not. That poor table, which is an actual park bench, by the way, which they reused, which someone else pointed out, which was a clever.
Yeah, that's common for television.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Take
was a
stuff,
nice little
buy
clever
stuff and
thing.
repaint.
Yeah, that was a nice little clever.
And then they also detached the seats from it, but the table definitely looked like that
Mhm.
park bench or park table.
Gives it a very utilitarian feel.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to list your prediction, Travis, as maybe, or do you want it upgraded
Okay.
from that?
I'll take a maybe. Why not? I mean, like,
Okay.
it's
Obviously,
a very.
we'll revise
I keep my predictions simple for a reason. I know I'm sure.
Okay. Who else has a new prediction?
We're going to see the board create the board.
What?
Borg
Create
The board create the board.
I don't think we're going to get a Borg origin out of this show.
I wouldn't, maybe we might have some type of.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, we know Borg had time travel before, so let's make it.
He's literally speculating that the Borg travel back.
The
Borg
time
travel
traveled
back
and created themselves.
So the Borg are their own grandfather. Smack it down.
That's
There's
just absolutely no evidence of that. And talk about a Deus Ex Machina.
Romulans creating them.
No, it's not better.
Yeah, it is.
It's not better. It doesn't require time travel.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have Romulans creating the Borg. Okay, we'll have a stalemate on that one for now.
I'm listing it, but I'm also putting it down as ridiculous.
Somebody has to keep George's spirit alive, right?
That's right. And I'll send you the dollar if I'm wrong, Justin. Okay. Okay. Who has another prediction?
I do.
Go for it, son.
Okay, so I don't necessarily think we're going to see Seven reconnect to the cube. Why? Because Seven has already made the connection to the XBs, and whatever Borg weren't jettisoned, she has made the cube autonomous upon her disconnecting, so that the XBs themselves as individuals have control over the cube.
Borg need a queen. Borg need a queen.
I mean, she might reactivate the cube, which, I mean, clearly reactivated the cube.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a cooperative situation.
Yeah, I mean, both she did reactivate the collective, and she did reactivate the cube.
Okay.
Stepping back a second, something Hugh said, our new queen is a Romulan.
What?
When Hugh was talking to Picard about the state of the XBs, he said our queen is a Romulan.
I think that was just a fancy metaphor.
Yeah,
I think that wasn't literal. How could that be literal?
He was explaining it as, we had the four queens in the collective, but now we have it's just a different collective with a new flavor. And he's using Romulan as an example. It's being a four queen because they're doing the same thing that the queen was, slaving.
I think that was a colorful play on words to say we're going to see Denise Crosby show up as the queen of this new free Romulan state.
That is my fan wank right there.
It's actually good fan wank. I don't think it's going to happen this season. That's just too far out of left field. We know who our antagonists are. So
Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton.
Michael Dorn in Discovery Klingon makeup.
No.
They've already said if they bring him back, he'll look like himself.
Of course he'll look out like himself, just with a few extra ridges.
There's a behind-the-scenes photo from, I guess.
Okay, before we go, let's not go down that road. Let's stick with Sun's prediction, which is tell me if I wrote this down correctly. Son.
Okay.
Seven will not reconnect to the cube. The surviving Borg will instead form a cooperative.
Yeah, it's basically, the whole dynamic of the Borg Queen is that she can create autonomous orders, or she can create instant orders. What she's done as her time as the queen, so to speak, in that cube, is she's reconnected the XBs, but she's given them autonomy to be individuals still, much like the cooperative was, even though they needed the link again to keep themselves from warring with each other. She's given these given these XBs control of their own destiny in the form of this cube.
I'm not sure that that's what they've actually shown yet.
I wish you would have shown us more.
Because her saying something like, I may not release them.
Of course they haven't shown this yet. That's why it's speculation.
I know, but what I'm saying is there's no evidence of it. There's no evidence.
That's why it's speculation.
Speculation.
More like,
Well, and yeah, that's why I can't get any higher than that in terms of how we record the status of it. I think that they basically, if she does not reconnect, I would be very surprised, because they essentially, it's Chekhov's gun. I mean, Annika has work to do. The implication is she will be back.
Annika has work to do. She's literally the leader of the Fenris Rangers. Or some form of leadership in the Fenris Rangers.
Or she's the new leader of the XPs.
We don't know what the work is. We don't know what the work is. But it was important enough that as a queen, she released herself.
The Fenris Rangers take hold of the cube and bring order to the former neutral zone.
Maybe. Wouldn't that be? That would be interesting, actually.
The Borg cube showing up and saving the day.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by that, because you don't just leave a cube hanging as a loose end, as a loose thread in a series like this, where it's been at the center of the story. So that cube is going to be reactivated to do something important in sometime in the next 2 episodes. That's my
Commodore O shows up with the fleet of Battle Picard with the Romulans in tow, and the Borg cube shows up to save the day.
What? Say that again?
Okay, Commodore O. Well, Commodore O, we already know she's part of this. So she shows up with the fleet that Picard was supposed to rendezvous with that started
right, we already said that.
12. Okay, but she has a Romulan fleet in tow that we see leaving the cube. You know, in that one shot where they're all warping out. They all meet up and then they warp into the system all together. And they're related to what Picard descends. And then the Borg cube shows up and saves the day.
What he's saying is that the fleet that we were supposed to meet at Starbase 12 is met by the Romulan fleet, which if Picard had showed up, they would have, quote unquote, taken care of him. Mm-hmm. And both the Starfleet fleet led by O and the Romulan fleet then warped to the planet to cause their mayhem. But because Picard didn't go, he's now at the planet, so the Starfleet fleet and the Romulan fleet show up to start causing mayhem and trouble, and then the Borg cube shows up to save the day.
Okay, so are you theorizing then, Justin, that the Starfleet squadron and the Romulan squadron are going to work together to destroy to battle the synths?
Well, absolutely. We already know this is part of their plan. I mean, the fact that Clancy so quickly caved to the whole situation, and she was already partially in on what was going on, it just makes sense. I mean, the fleet would be there. I mean,
if O shows up in... Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because I think Ross was thinking earlier, O's going to show up, and she's going to be in charge of this fleet, and Romulans and Starfleet's going to team up to go after Picard and descend, because once Picard's a pain in the ass that nuisance and knows too much, and two, because since the Force cannot be allowed to exist.
Well, that and if O shows up and she's in command, it's likely she's issued those black directives to the captains of all the other ships. So they're all essentially hostage by orders at that point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Remember that an admiral outranks a commodore.
You're
So-
assuming that Admiral Clancy is there.
No. I'm assuming she gave an order about what they're supposed to do upon meeting.
Yeah,
Picard.
but we don't know how this
So
directive works
if
either.
yeah, so if there are, I'm not saying black directives aren't going to happen, but they're not going to happen officially. They'll be not to captains because they know what their orders are from a higher ranking officer.
Unless Clancy intercepted the orders en route.
All right.
Or it's not Clancy
Maybe.
unless O.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know on that point. That would be a device.
But there's no evidence for it.
For which?
I'm literally playing off the whole conversation we just had. Are you?
I know. I'm asking you which. What are you saying there's no evidence for?
The whole
Oh.
thing. There's no
But
evidence for the whole thing.
For which whole thing?
She's riffing on you, Carlos.
I understand that, but are you using it? Are you using it to make a point, or using it just to make fun of me?
The latter.
Okay, then we can move on. Okay, any other predictions?
I think I'm out.
Riker's going to show up with LaForge and Worf in tow.
You're kidding, right?
And we have a behind-the-scenes photo showing all of them together.
Visiting the set, dude.
They're not going to let people in on the clothes that even former castmates.
Yes, they are. Especially if Jonathan Frakes is directing. Yes, they are.
Well, to be fair, Jonathan Frakes wasn't directing that particular episode.
Yeah, they're not
You
going
mean
to.
the two? Well, we don't know when they were there. Honestly, we don't know when they were there.
I believe.
That shot
Exactly.
was the Nepenthe set, so yes.
Yeah, I
Was
believe
what
it's
Nepenthe? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think you can base anything off that photograph.
And we have there.
I agree with Carlos. I don't think Worf's going to be appearing this season.
Kurtzman has said that explicitly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as I said many times before, they weren't telling us that each ship was going to show up either. And look what happened.
Well, yeah, but that's. They didn't say he wouldn't. They have said Worf wouldn't. They're two
When he
completely
first
different
time-
situations, Justin.
When the first time they lied about something.
That was J.J. Abrams. That's not. Alex Kurtzman hasn't done anything like that.
Secret hideout.
In Discovery. We just haven't seen it. Okay, so do you literally want me to put that as a prediction?
Yes.
Okay, so repeat it for me again.
Riker is going to show up with Worf and LaForge in tow. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be on a Starfleet ship. I mean, if it is, it probably will be, but it might be on a for-hire ship, depending on if he decides to reactivate his mission or not. But they did drop that hint that Riker was on active reserve, and it would actually be a very good reason.
Well, and yes, we hear that about Riker. Blowing that up into Worf and LaForge
Well,
just doesn't make sense.
Wait, okay.
Photo, I wouldn't be making the plane, but we have behind the scenes photos. Plus, we also have the casting thing at the end of the thing that they signed all the stuff.
So I
Angry
just had the
kid.
craziest thought. You know that crazy captain guy that Kestra was talking to on the Nepenthe?
Captain Crandall?
Yeah. What if that turns out to be Brent Spiner and he's got the hair from Independence Day?
That's a cute notion. Okay, any other predictions? Kate, you've been listening attentively. I know you don't make many predictions, but do you have any comments overall on how outlandish ours have been this episode?
Led me astray last week, but I have returned to the path of righteousness.
No new prediction from you then, right?
Not this week.
Okay. Do you
Come
think
to the power of the dark side.
did you hear anything in these predictions that that sound more likely than not to you?
Actually, there's one that I haven't heard yet that I think would be worth entertaining, and that is that Elnor will join the Fenris Rangers next.
So you're not on the
well,
right after all.
No, you've thoroughly corrupted me.
Yeah.
I'm going to list that as a maybe because there's, again, a certain symmetry to that. Although it has to be a lost cause. So, however that's defined.
That's a lost
The
cause.
Fenris Rangers, by Seven's own description, is absolutely a lost cause.
Yeah.
So that would be perfect for Eleanor to join, especially as 7-feet sidekick.
Wasn't the
Yeah,
whole...
I'm listing that as maybe because I think that's entirely possible. So, but
Like, isn't our favorite villain the whole reason the Fenris Rangers were laid low like they were? That Bejazzled had used
Bejazzled, yeah.
She used the Fenris Rangers and their resources.
well, I mean, she
Watch
turned
Stardust
against them. I
Rag
don't.
again.
What's that?
I'd have to watch Stardust City rag again.
And he'd have the opportunity to go home again.
What's that?
Since, what's the name of that planet?
Oh, where
Freecloud.
No, not
where the
Freecloud. Where he came from.
Malat.
Yeah, that's
Vashti.
in Vashti, yes.
Yeah.
That's in Ranger territory.
Yeah.
So he'd be protecting his home.
All right. Well, I don't think that's outlandish, Kate. So there you go. All right. If no one has any other predictions, that brings us to a close for this installment of the Real Super Geeks Picard Prediction Smackdown. Give us one last smack, Ross, as the eyebrows of doom. Thank you, and join us again next week. Thank you for the Doom Sun. Kate, thank you for joining us again as our guest, and Justin and Travis, thank you for all your insights as well. And we will see you all next week for our regular Make It So Picard After Show, and we also have our Real Super Geeks weekly podcast, which will be recording on Sunday, releasing on Monday. So please come back for that as well.
And also, we will be live on Live, Love, Play on Twitch.
Oh, right, when we record on Sunday. Right. Thanks to Ross.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Ross. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good week.